Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are in the south of France. I'm here currently with Natalie visiting some family, and I've bought two film cameras, my Yashica rangefinder camera here and my Canon A1. Got a few different films which I'll run you through later on, but I just wanted to sort of bring you guys along with me as I take pictures around this part of the country. As I mentioned, I'm here for a few weeks, but hopefully I'll be able to take lots of interesting photos. And as a quick starter, I found this old bench in my parents' garden which has this really nice strip of lighting here and the overgrown grass going through it. I thought it looked really good, so I thought we could take our first photo. So the trip started with a visit to the village of Laurence, where we found an old small antique shop. I was on the hunt for some old film cameras, maybe tucked away in some dusty corners, but as you can see with my face, I didn't find any. That wasn't the biggest issue though. The biggest issue was... Meanwhile, I was scrolling through Google Maps and I spotted a part of the village called La Gare, which means the station in French, which caught my eye because I was sure there was no station in this village and I was convinced we had to go and check it out just to prove to myself that there wasn't one.
Nuts on so good weather.
Thanks, Mum. But there I was, soaked, staring at an actual station, but we'll get back to that later on. After that, we headed home and just sat there watching the rain do its thing. So it is currently Easter Sunday here in the south of France, and Natalie and I are on a walk. It's really sunny, really nice weather. It's about 5 p.m. and the sun is still pretty high up in the sky, so the lighting is still quite harsh, but I do think it is quite interesting. I'm out with my Yashica because it's currently the only camera I have loaded as of now. My dog is pining, but I have found this really nice composition, as you've just seen, of this old sort of abandoned farming tool. I'm not exactly too sure what it is. So after that beautiful explanation, I'm just going to cut myself off real quick to mention that most of the pictures I took on this walk just didn't show up on the negatives. I don't know why. I'm guessing it's a shutter issue, but yeah, I managed to get the one I was talking about, which is here, which, yeah, not the best picture. But most of the pictures I took on this walk for some reason just didn't show up. But I did manage to get a few, so let's go back to the film. But yeah, I have got this walk to do now and I'm quite excited because hopefully there'll be some nice compositions on the way.
Show me, show me, show me how you do that trick. The one that makes me scream, she said.
The following day, we were invited to a lunch party in the middle of some vineyards.
And threw her arms around my neck. And show me how you
After eating, we set off on a walk through the countryside, and that is when Natalie spotted an old abandoned house tucked deep inside this forest. By now the sun was starting to set and the light was just absolutely perfect. I found this composition framed by an old weathered door, and that's when I realised I'd left all my cameras at home. Should have brought my film camera. But Natalie came to the rescue with her Kodak Ektar H35. I'm still getting used to using this camera, so yeah, that's why the composition is all off.
spinning on a dizzy edge. I kissed her face.
Then we stumbled onto this dusty dirt road which looked like it led nowhere, and just when we thought it was all stillness, out of the blue an old French truck rolled in.
Oh, why are you so far away? She said, why won't you ever know that I'm in love with you? Oh, I'm in love with you. You, soft and only you, lost and lonely.
That evening, because the weather was just so nice, we decided to go on a bike ride.
Strange as angels dancing in the deepest ocean. twisting in the water. You're just like a dream.
Natalie once again found an old abandoned stone house, this time in the middle of some vineyards, so once again we decided to go and have a look. Now, this was an absolute nightmare to get to. It was massively overgrown, but Natalie was brave enough to go first. I once again found this composition with an old weathered door, this time looking out to the vineyards, and if you remember how excited I was last time I found a similar composition. Should have brought my film camera. Well, this time I did, and this is the picture I got.
I opened up my eyes and found myself alone, alone, alone above a raging sea. Stole the only girl I loved and drowned her deep inside of me. You, soft and only you, lost and lonely you, just like heaven.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ta robe à fleurs sous la pluie de novembre me manque.
Now, if you remember early on in this film, I went to that village called Laurence where I found a train station. Now, it was raining that day, so I decided to come back a day where the weather was slightly better because I think I found some interesting compositions there.
Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte coeur. Je voudrais toujours te plaire.
So we've just cycled for the past 40 minutes, I think, to this village here, and it's really cool because it's got this old train station which has sort of been abandoned but then converted into a house. So you can see this old abandoned train track. However, that one just behind me does still work, so we are having to watch out a bit so I don't get hit by a train. There's this old platform here and this very old sort of 1960s looking waiting area, I'd imagine, which I quite like the look of. I'm going to try and make a composition maybe with the old track leading towards the old station and also capturing this old, almost Soviet looking train station hut. I'm using Kodak Ektar 100, which is quite hard to expose for in this sort of weather conditions. It's sort of somewhat bright but cloudy. It's not really the best, to be honest, for taking pictures. The lighting is very flat, but I will try and make it work nonetheless. There you go. I'd like to take a picture from the front, but that'd mean having to go on an active railway, which obviously I'm not going to do. That's quite a nice composition. Obviously I'm using 100 ISO film, so the shutter speeds are a bit slower than what I'm used to with 400 ISO film, but hopefully it will work. I originally bought Kodak Ektar because I thought it was going to be really sunny and that I could use a low ISO film to my sort of benefit, but the weather's been a bit hit and miss, but I'm excited to take more pictures with some Kodak Ektar.
Day 7 and the weather was so much nicer, so we decided to go to Nîmes, which is about an hour and a bit away from where we were staying. Natalie on the way picked up some film and then we jumped on the train to organise our day. Nîmes is such a cool place. It really inspired me to take pictures. It's a real mix of ancient and I mean like Roman time architecture, but also nice modern French charm. Turned the wrong way.
But that's it. That's the well done. That's a bit of a bad last picture, to be honest. Not too nice, but there you go, Kodak Ektar down. So I've come to the conclusion as I've finished this roll of Kodak here that I find it hard to find compositions in places like this, the south of France. And I think that's for a few reasons. One, as I mentioned a few times, this is where I was brought up, this area, not specifically here, but this type of scenery. And I think for me, I'm so used to it from my childhood that I find it hard to get inspiration from it just because I was raised on it. And obviously I realise how beautiful it is, it's so idyllic. But something like Scotland or Edinburgh, which might be a bit less pretty than this, for me it's sort of new and a bit more inspiring just because there's more things that I find interesting to compose. I'm not personally a big fan of shooting landscapes, for example. As beautiful as this is, the village and the mountains, it wouldn't be something I'd grab my camera and shoot on film. So I think that's why this trip and a few other trips I've done to France, as much as I like the pictures and I think they are very nice, they're not my best works by any means. And I think that is something I need to work on, is trying to see the beauty in simple compositions and not always try and get this amazing portfolio shot. And if I actually look, for example, at this building to my left, there's so many compositions I could have taken if I actually sat down and thought about it. I don't think I do, because for me, I just look at the landscapes and focus maybe a bit too much on that, or I just don't think as much as I would if I was back in the UK or somewhere different. So I think my challenge for the last few days I've got here in France is to try and get more maybe landscape shots, get used to shooting more landscape, or just try and find the beauty in the smaller things and try and get some better pictures than I think I've already taken. So today we are here at the beach in a typical Languedoc seaside resort town. This town was built in the 30s, 40s and 50s. So I am looking forward to, one, getting on the beach, taking some pictures of that, and two, walking around the town itself, hopefully finding some old typical French buildings, some old seaside buildings from the 50s, similar to a Jacques Tati film or something like that. So let's go and explore this little French seaside resort town. So we were just driving on the road, heading back now, and I saw in the corner of my eye this old garage which had this very nice old Citroen 2 CV and a few other vintage cars. So we stopped the car and I jumped out last minute to go and get some pictures. It was quite a little fun area, and I've always wanted to try and get some vintage French cars on this trip, so hopefully that will fill that quota. But now we are going to go back home.